गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम अनदर शॉट। आज हम बात करेंगे इसराइल हमास वॉर के बारे में, एयर डिफेंस के सब्जेक्ट के ऊपर। मैं पहले ही बता देना चाहता हूँ कि आज थोड़ा ऑडियो में थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम होगा, क्योंकि वो रिसाउंडिंग हो रहा है और इसके बारे में मैं चैनल में कुछ कर नहीं सकता। राइट। ये जो एयर और एयर डिफेंस के बारे में बात करने के लिए मेरे साथ हैं लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल वी सक्सेना। सर, गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गाना शो।
थैंक यू।
राइट। सर, इससे पहले कि मैं आगे चलूं, मैं बताना चाहता हूं जनरल सक्सेना जो हैं वो जब सर्विस में थे, ही वाज द डायरेक्टर जनरल ऑफ आर्मी एयर डिफेंस एंड we could not have had a better person to talk about air defense and जो हो रहा है एयर डिफेंस के बारे में in the Israel Hamas war today evening with us. He's an outstanding officer, इसमें कोई doubt नहीं है. I have known him from the time he was an NDA. He was a sixth term when I was a first termer, and he from then to now he's just outstanding academically. He is a brilliant officer. And he was the commandant of the School of Air Defense. He was also the DG AD, and he's written so many articles and books, and I lost count of it. And he's a part of so many think tanks that I can't even recount. I don't think I'll spend more time on all this, because we'll get to the subject proper and understand how air and air defense किस तरीके से ये इजराइल हमास वॉर में वी कैन ऑल सी। बात यह है कि ये जो एयर फोर्स कन्वेंशनली इस वॉर में ज्यादा काम नहीं कर रहा। इजराइल की तरफ से वो एयर अटैक कर रहे हैं, ये हमें पता है, पिछले 15 दिन से कर रहे हैं। पर हमास ने जो एयर का इस्तेमाल किया है वो एक अजीब तरीके से और एक हाइब्रिड तरीके से इन्होंने इस्तेमाल किया, ड्रोन्स और रॉकेट्स और अनेक तरीके से रॉकेट्स के साथ। और वही टैक्टिक्स जो है वो हिजबुल्ला भी अडॉप्ट कर रहा है नॉर्थ लेबनान से। तो ये समझना बड़ा इम्पोर्टेंट है, और इसको समझाने के लिए आज जनरल वी सक्सेना है हमारे साथ। पर इससे पहले कि वो एयर डिफेंस के अंदर चले, तो हम 5 मिनट के अंदर क्या हो रहा है इजराइल और हमास के बीच में गाजा पट्टी के अंदर, उसके बारे में एक छोटा सा ब्यौरा लेंगे। जैसे मैं पहले भी बता चुका हूँ, ये गनर शॉट में हमने बहुत सारे वीडियो किए हैं, और तकरीबन 13 वीडियो कर दिया हमने ऑलरेडी हमास और इजराइल के लड़ाई के बारे में। अलग अलग दृष्टिकोण से देखा हमने, इसको परखा। और कल के दिन हम ये देखेंगे कि कैन पाकिस्तान ब्लिट्स इंडिया हमास स्टाइल, क्या हमारे ऊपर भी पाकिस्तान ऐसे आक्रमण करेगा, और इसके बाद भी जारी रखेंगे इस युद्ध के बारे में। और इसीलिए मैं बार बार बताता रहता हूँ सबको, जो भी इस वीडियो को देख रहे हैं, प्लीज सब्सक्राइब टू गाना शॉट। ओके, जहां तक वहां ऑन ग्राउंड जो हो रहा है, अगर आप देखेंगे बाएं वाले मैप में, राइट, ये न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स का मैप है, आप देखेंगे ऊपर गाजा पट्टी के ऊपर 2 ब्लू एरो हैं, और बीचों बीच एक एरो है जो ईस्ट से वेस्ट की तरफ जा रहा है। तो अभी तक जो पिछले 24 घंटे में इजराइल हैज इनकर्स्ड, मैं ये नहीं बोलूंगा कि ऑफेंसिव है, इट हैज इनकर्स्ड इनटू दीस एरियाज, और लगता है कि ये मल्टी प्रोंग अटैक, मल्टी डायरेक्शनल अटैक कर रहा है। और उनके प्रधानमंत्री बेंजामिन नेतन्याहू ने बोला है कि इट्स अ लॉन्ग हॉल अहेड, और जहां तक उनका अनुमान है, जब तक हमास को डिस्ट्रॉय नहीं करेंगे, ये लड़ाई जारी रहेगा। और ये भी है कि पिछले 24 घंटे से इंटरनेट कनेक्टिविटी और कम्युनिकेशन कट हो गया गाजा में, और मेरे ख्याल में ये इजराइल डिफेंस फोर्सेस ने जानबूझकर किया है, ताकि हमस के बीच में थोड़ा they are not able to communicate with each other or react to each other, and that has been done in darkness and also as a multi-directional attack. So there are a lot of things going out there, और ये अर्ली टाइम्स हैं, देखेंगे अगले आगे जाके क्या होगा। पर जैसे मैं पिछले 4-5 एपिसोड्स में बता के आ रहा हूँ, ऊपर एक मिलिट्री वॉर हो रहा है, नीचे एक ह्यूमैनिटेरियन वॉर हो रहा है। और जैसे रेड एरो से दिखाया मैंने, 2 प्रॉन्ग ऊपर से आ रहे हैं, नीचे से एक प्रॉन्ग इसराइल ने कर दिया। यहाँ मैं 2 मिनट और बताना चाहता हूँ कि नफ्ताली बेनेट, जो इनका पुराना इसराइल का पुराना प्रधानमंत्री है, उन्होंने एक प्लान बताया। उस प्लान के मुताबिक उन्होंने बोला कि उस तरीके से हमला करो जिससे गाजा पट्टी का 2 हिस्से में बांट दो, बीचों बीच, और 2 हिस्से में बांट के, और दोनों हिस्सों को कंट्रोल कीजिए, मूवमेंट नॉर्थ टू साउथ और साउथ टू नॉर्थ, और धीरे धीरे जो नॉर्थ में जो सिविलियंस हैं उनको साउथ की तरफ धकेल दो। साउथ में पूरा ह्यूमैनिटेरियन एड वगैरह वगैरह जाने दीजिए ताकि सिविलियंस फंसे ना, और ऊपर जो है लंबे हटसे तक इसको ड्राई आउट करो ताकि हमास को ना पानी मिले, ना एमिनेशन मिले, कुछ मिले, चाहे कितने दिन भी हो, और धीरे धीरे ये फांस लो और फंदा टाइट कर दो। जहां तक ये रुझान मिल रहा है, इनिशियल इंडिकेशन जिस तरीके से इसराइल कर रहा है, हो सकता है ये प्लान इख्तियार करेंगे। अगर ये प्लान इख्तियार करेंगे तो इट्स गोइंग टू बी अ वेरी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड ऑपरेशन एंड इट्स गोइंग टू बी अ न्यू ऑपरेशन। और जहां उसमें मेरे को पूरा यकीन है कि देयर विल बी अ लॉट ऑफ एक्शन एज फार एज द एयर डिफेंस इज कंसर्न्ड। Okay, as far as the hostages are concerned, Hamas negotiate कर रहा है for release of all its prisoners against the hostages it holds, और इसराइल का रवैया यह है कि हम इसके बारे में बात ही नहीं करेंगे, आप जो मर्जी करना कर लो, हम आपके ऊपर हमला कर रहे हैं। अभी तक, आगे जाके क्या होगा देखी जाएगी। और नॉर्थ में हिजबुल्लाह के साथ एक्सचेंज ऑफ फायर हो रहा है, रॉकेट्स वगैरह हो रहा है, जिस तरीके से पिछले 4-5 दिन से हो रहा है। तो ये है जो अभी का स्थिति वहां। बाकी वेस्ट बैंक में भी जिस तरीके से मैंने कल भी बताया था, ये जो वेस्ट बैंक में जो रेड डॉट्स हैं, वहां झड़प हुए हैं, इनकाउंटर्स हुए हैं, रेड्स हुए हैं वगैरह, और कैजुअलिटीज भी हुए हैं। और मैं दोबारा बताना चाहता हूँ, वेस्ट बैंक भी बड़ा कोटा है अभी, और वेस्ट बैंक में पिछले इस साल में बहुत ज्यादा कैजुअलिटीज हुए हैं जो पिछले 15 साल में नहीं हुए, और अक्टूबर 7 से लेकर अभी तक तकरीबन 150-200 कैजुअलिटीज हो चुके हैं। तो वेस्ट बैंक भी बड़ा कुटा है, राइट। यही मैं सबको बताना चाहता था। और अभी जो है मैं जनरल वीके सक्सेना को हैंड ओवर करता हूँ कि ताकि वो अपना बात बताएं कि इस युद्ध में एयर एस्पेक्ट्स और एयर डिफेंस किस तरीके से आगे होगा और किस तरीके से हुआ है, क्योंकि बहुत लोग मेरे से पूछ रहे थे आयरन डोम ये वो वगैरह। मेरे ख्याल में ये सब कुछ विस्तार में बताएंगे। सर, ओवर टू यू, whenever you want, let me know, I'll just put on my slides.
Yeah, you can put on the slide. I can start.
Yeah.
Good evening and Jai Hind to one and all. At the onset, I take this opportunity to uh, thank my illustrious colleague, Jan Shankar, now a professor, now a corporate success, now a scholar general, and a dear friend for life, for giving me this opportunity to make a presentation on a very important subject, which is not much discussed in great detail. What is it which I want to talk? I want to say, I want to measure up the Israeli counter to the air threat in hand. What does it mean? It means I will like to lay out in front of you what is the air threat which Hamas is trying to pose singly or in collusion with other players, which Jan Shankar just alluded to. How the Israeli air defense measures up today to the air threat. What are the weapons which are in forefront being touted to take on the Hamas threat? How are they faring and what could there be alternative means? And finally, what are the takeaways from us from this scenario? Okay, coming straight to the point of air threat, because what is air threat? The air threat is what is driving this whole issue. The air threat from Harkat al Mukawama al Islamia, the name Hamas, which is doing the rounds everywhere, has grown from a small threat to a huge threat. Now, to illustrate this point, I have taken this slide called Then and Now. First of all, try to understand that the bulk of the Hamas threat is not a conventional air threat. The conventional air threat is prosecuted by strike aircrafts, attack helicopters, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, anti radiation missiles, guided rockets, laser bombs, precision guided munitions, etc. 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 Whereas the Hamas attack is predominantly an unguided short range rockets in a very large number and a little variety of guided, which I will be covering a little later. Now, to justify then and now, in the year 2014, Hamas was supposed to be having 6,000 to 10,000 rockets of the unguided variety. In 2023, August count, the rocket count has gone from 30,000 plus, some of the experts are talking about 30 to 35,000. Most of the rockets which are made themselves are called Qasam rocket. Just to tell you a point, that Qasam word comes from a name of a person called Izad al-Uddin, Izad al-Din al-Qasam, which is a Syrian Muslim preacher whose death in a guerrilla raid while launching a raid on the British mandatory authority in 1935 led to his death. And that catalyzed the Arab Israeli revolt in Palestine from 1936 to 39. So, honoring Qassam, their rockets are called Qassam rockets, and their military wing is Azuddin military wing. Now, talking of the Qassam rockets, they are short range rockets and medium range rockets, which I will say they are multiple ranges. Now, I will shortly cover what are the multiple ranges. Now, you can see that singly these ranges are short, medium, and long. The short range rockets of Hamas are just 1.8 to 2.24. That is about 35 to just about 2 to 2.4 feet long. Very small rockets. 180 centimeters to 224 centimeters. That is 1.8 to 224. Their ranges are as small as 5 kilometers, 12 kilometers, 16 to 20 kilometers. That is where Hamas started from. That is where they started their base of Qassam rocket. This is called Q1 and Q2. Then they moved on to higher rockets. But basically, what are these rockets? They are steel artillery rockets. They're steel artillery rockets of unguided variety. Their warhead is an explosive material which also have metal ball bearings. The propellant is very crude. The crude propellant is sugar and potassium nitrate mix. Their raw material has come from themselves, from inside, from the destruction caused by the Israel, the sheet metal, the electrical pipes, the metal pipes, the water pipes, etc., and much from outside. Now, talking about what is their inside strength, I talked about the Qasam series, which is called the Q series. They range from 12 to 20 kilometers, simple rockets. Then they have Fazar rocket. Fazar is a Israel Iranian word. His name is Dawn. Iran is a very big power in terms of rockets, guided missiles, ballistic missiles, even nuclear power. You all are all aware of. The Fazar 3 and 5 are two types of rockets that range up to 75 kilometers. So while Qassams are only up to 40, Fazar take them to 75. Then they also have some larger rockets of Iran which have been smuggled. They are J series, A series, and R series. The ranges from 80 to 160. So basically, 12 to 20 kilometers, 12 to 40 kilometers, short rockets. 40 to 75 kilometers, medium range rockets, Fazar series, and 75 to 160 are long range rockets. Again, of various varieties, J, A, R. I do not want to confuse you with detail, just to understand that up to 40, 40 to 75, and 80 to 160. Now, this is where is their internal strength. Internal strength. Now, Shankar just talked about northern front of Hezbollah, Lebanon. The outside support to this rocket, first of all, there is a support from north. If the Hezbollah, guys, these are 30,000 plus. Hezbollah's arsenal is 100,000 plus rockets. Their rockets can be divided, their arsenal of Hezbollah can be divided into three parts: unguided rockets, anti tank missiles, and surface to air missiles. As regards the unguided rockets of Hezbollah, the unguided rockets of Hezbollah are the three variety. One is a Falak, one is a Shaheen, one is a Fazr. They are the three variety. The Falak variety, which is very, very low range, is 10 to 11 kilometers, something like the Qassam rockets. The equivalent in Iran is the Falak rocket. Falak rocket, 10 to 11 kilometers. Then you have Shaheen rockets. Shaheen rockets are up to 20 kilometers, 13 to 20 kilometers. Then you have the Katyusta and Fazar. As I already told about Fazar, 75 kilometers. Then Hezbollah has also got a large number of long range arsenal. That arsenal is called Khaybar, Zelzal, and Fateh. Khaybar, Zelzal, and Fateh are the rockets which take from 43 kilometers to 250 kilometers. So these are the unguided rockets of Hezbollah, and a part of this is also guided like Scud, like Fateh 110. They are guided rockets. As regards the anti-tank arsenal of Hezbollah, anti-tank arsenal, large number of anti-tank missiles they have got, ranges from 2.5 kilometers to 8 kilometers. They are all 80 series, 84, 5, 80, Alpha Tango, 80, Malyutka, Concourse, Russian missile 7, large number of missiles they have got. Then they have got surface to air missiles also. Surface to air missiles are manpads, which you are seeing in large number in Ukraine. Manpad missiles. They got drone. Manpad missiles starting from 4 to 6 kilometers. They also have one battery of medium range surface to air missile called Buck 2M or Grizzly weapon system. This is all from Hezbollah. And don't be surprised that if the one or two prong attack, which Jal Shankar just alluded to, these weapons will have a seamless flow between one to another. Then coming to Iran. Iran is a major backer of Hamas. Iran is extending support to Hamas. Iran says we want to kiss the hands of the warriors who launched the attack, who took the hostages, and what they did, the highly condemnable act on 7th October. Israel has stood in support of Hamas. What does Iran does? Iran provides about $100 million per year to three organizations. They got a lot of proxies. They got Hamas, they got Palestinian Islamic Jihad, they got Palestinian Liberation Party, they got Houthis in Yemen, they got Fateh, they got a lot of Iranian proxies which launch wars and which fight wars for them. Hamas is one of the beneficiaries. Now, as regards Hamas, because I'm concentrating on Hamas, the Iran Islamic Revolutionary Guard has provided three things to Hamas. What are the three things? One is the weapons, which I just talked about, the Fazal rocket, M75, JA series rocket, all. They provide engineers who can assemble, who can teach the know-how, and they are given training to the missile pilots to launch the weapons as also manufacture them. Manufacturing industry provided raw materials to them and provided know-how to them. You all know, must have seen this flag hundreds of times, that this is Iran is one country who's standing in support. Whether the route comes from Badasabar or it comes from overland, it comes via Port Sudan, which I'll be covering a little later. Now, in addition to Hamas its own, then from Hezbollah, from Iran, with the support of Iran, Hamas has got multiple factories making them. Why do you think so many air attacks are taking place in the thick of the population? Because most of their factories, institutions, most of their manufacturing are located in the thick of those institutions which are populated. Where if attack comes, Israel will also end up making a humanitarian crisis. One of these multiple factories which makes radar was attacked on 13th October 23. This is the video of that. It was destroyed by the IDF, but there are large number of these factories tucked in at various places, and the prepared rockets are lying in multiple tunnels. You know the tunnels. How many tunnels? 1,300 tunnels are there. Each 30 to 70 meter, 30 to 70 meters, 500 kilometers of length it covers, 2 meter wide, 2 meter in depth, and it has 30,000 to 40,000 personnel inside, stacking weapons at various places. This is a very big and large network, as you had seen from one of the hostages who gave the account of the Hamas. Then comes the terror beneath the sea. This is where the Gaza border on the Mediterranean. You'll find many meters of these tunnels are going inside into the Mediterranean, where sealed packages from carrying explosive material, rockets, prepared rockets, unprepared rockets in CKD, SKD condition are dropped there, and then they are smuggled through the tunnel network to various places. Where does it go? You all know this route, either from Bandar Abbas, skirting all the way to Saudi Arabia, coming to Port Sudan, getting on to Egypt, through Rafah into Gaza. From Tehran, getting on to the land route right into Lebanon and Gaza. The multiple routes are available to get these missiles, and this is going on in a very big way. Not today. We have heard that this attack was in the making for a very long time, maybe a large part of 1 or more years. So this is what is happening in terms of the attack. Now, what are the reflections in the air threat? The air threat from Hamas tells us that this Hamas, which was a protest group at one point in time, is today turned into a mini army. Their teeth are both do it yourself variety, which is the Qasam variety, the one which comes from Hezbollah, which is the Falak, Shaheen, Fazar variety, the one which comes from Iran in terms of all types of support, weapons, engineers, trading, manufacturing facilities, raw materials, and from Syria. All these are largely unguided, but they are in the cusp of turning the guided into unguided to guided variety, and also smuggle in some precision guided munition. They have large number of drones also. The drones, you know that the drones between Hamas are short, medium range drones, which they have not yet displayed very much in this conflict, but they have it in their arsenal. One of the statements of Hamas very recently had said that their own factories produce rockets of 10 kilometers, 80, 160 to 50-kilometer range. They produce mortar bombs, 81 millimeter, 82 millimeter, 120 millimeter. They will also produce or manufacture the Kalashnikov rifles, the AK rifles. This is the type of threat which we are talking about, the Hamas threat. What is the counterforce? What are the Israelis doing about it, and how it just happened? With so much unguided rocket, more than 4,500 launched on a single day on 7th October. What is the force? Israel. I have had the great pleasure of dealing with the Israeli experts, a large number of them through my service. In Israel, the highest authority is in the air and air defense domain is the Israeli Air and Space Force. This is their logo you see. It controls the Israeli Air and Space Force. Under this Israeli Air and Space Force lies the Israeli Air Defense Command. Air Defense Command has, as all air defenses commands are there, are anchored on three major verticals. What are the three verticals? These are the verticals are sensors, shooters, and battle management system. Sensors is the first vertical. It looks into the enemy land. It looks far and deep to detect the enemy threat. Shooters, they kill the threat which has been detected and identified as hostile. And the battle management system is the one which makes the air defense battle happen, because it's a fast flowing battle. Now, coming to sensors, Israel is a very major force. Many of the radars were on sale to Indian air defense. Basically speaking, Israel has got 5 types of radars. First variety, as you see, is a long range surveillance radar of the range 4 to 500 kilometers. They can look inside. A radar called ELM 2084, etc. Then the second series of radar is called the tactical control radar. While long range surveillance radars only look deep into the enemy, tactical control radars have little lesser ranges, but they have a capability to detect the target and hand it over to the weapon system in real time. That is why it is called tactical control radar. Then you have airborne early warning and control system. This is a very, very sophisticated AEWCS based on IL-76 aircraft with a range of 3,000 kilometers and a capability to keep and watch more than 2,000 targets at any one time. Then on the larger front, Israel has also got ballistic missile defense. Air defense weapons deal with air threat. Air threat means aircraft, attack helicopters, cruise missiles, ballistic. But there is one type of weapons in air defense arsenal which are called ballistic missile defense. They are the weapons which counter the enemy's ballistic missile. So this is a very large weapon system called the BMD system. The radar which you see in this is a huge radar. I have had a look at it firsthand. It is called the Green Pine radar. You know the Indian ballistic missile defense system is codenamed Program AD. The radar of Program AD is inspired by Green Pine. Our radar is called Swordfish radar. So basically to tell you that Israel has got a fantastic capability of range and altitude surveillance, long range, tactical control, airborne, and ballistic missile defense. What about their? This is the sensors. What about their shooters? The shooters, which consists of the firearm, are the layered and tiered. What does it mean, layered and tiered? If you go to a burger shop, you have first the plain burger. Then on top of that, he'll lay out cheese. Then he'll lay out some chicken. Then he'll lay out some other thing. Then lay out some vegetable. Then he put some sauces. Then put the other. It is a layered and tiered. The air defense deployment are also layered and tiered. That is why it is called the firearm. The firearm starts from a few kilometers, 4 to 6 kilometers, goes more than 100 kilometers. It is an arm which punishes the air threat all simultaneously. So what is the lowest rung in this firearm is called the V-SHORAD or very short range air defense weapon. They are only 4 to 6 kilometer range. This is in Israel, their gun missile system. This is the first range. Superimposed on this are the short range surface to air weapons, which are 20 to 30 kilometers range. Israel has got one of the best SR-SAMs in the world. Then it comes to the next layer on top is the medium range SAM, which start from 42 kilometers to 100 plus kilometers. And beyond 100 kilometers is a long range SAM. Now you look at the layers and tiers, starting from the V-SHORAD, the shortest range, SR-SAM 20 to 30 kilometers, MR-SAM 70 to 100 kilometers, and LR-SAM more than 100. And superimposed on all this, I told you, is the ballistic missile defense system, which takes on the enemy ballistic missiles from 200 kilometers to 5,000 kilometers. Now, coming on to this, the V-SHORAD, which I talked the first layer, Israel has got two V-SHORAD. One is called the M163 Hovet. It's an old weapon system. It has only got a Vulcan gun, which is a Gatling gun M61, 6,000 rounds per minute it can fire. The upgraded version of Hovet is called the Macbeth weapon system. It does not only has the Vulcan gun, which is here, you can see 6,000 rounds per minute. It also has the Stinger missile, FIM-92. Stinger, you heard, you must be familiar with this name, Stinger. This is the same missile which USA provide to Ukraine, which has caused tremendous amount of casualties to the Kamov 51 and 52 helicopters of Russia. This is a very deadly missile. So the Hovet and Macbeth constitute the V-SHORAD variety. What about the SR-SAM? SR-SAM or the short range surface to air missile 20 to 30 kilometer is provided by Spider system. Spider stands for surface to air Python and Derby missile. There are two types of missile, Python and Derby. Python has got a range 5 to 20 kilometers and Derby has got a range of 50 kilometers. There are two different types of missile, launchable from one launcher, mobile launcher. This is the system which was also being offered for sale to India, but it was overtaken by Akash and we got Akash SR-SAM. But Spider was also on sale. This is the Spider weapon system to take on the conventional air threat. Kindly distinguish between conventional air threat and unguided rocket threat. Conventional air threat is aircraft, attack helicopters, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, precision guided munition. Coming to MRSAM and LRSAM, this has got a Barak variety. Barak 8 is a system which Israelis medium range and long range, that is up to 40 to 70 and more than 100 kilometers. Coming to the ballistic missile defense system, this is a variety which is 70, 100, 150. Coming to the ballistic missile defense system, Israel has got an arrow system. It is called Arrow 2 3, ranges from 90 to 250 kilometers to take on ballistic missiles. And it has got a further weapon system which is still now in range called David Sling. It is air defense as well as ballistic missile, range 300 kilometers. Now, what I'm talking about all these weapons, I'm talking about the weapons which are starting from 4 to 6 kilometers to 250 kilometers to take on the conventional air threat. But we are not facing conventional air threat. We are facing something else. What is that? We are facing a threat of rockets, unguided rockets. To counter these weapons, to counter this threat, the air defense weapons are called CRAM weapons, counter rocket and mortar threat. A typical weapon developed by Israel in 2012. I was very honored to tell you that I was associated in the development phase of this through the Israeli experts, and we used to exchange a lot of notes through development of this. This was developed way back in 2012. Now, why this? Why so much of talk about Iron Dome only? Because Iron Dome radar, which is called the ELM2084, is particularly optimized to take on and detect small threats like rockets, like mortars, and so on. Secondly, its radar has got a capability to detect the impact point of multiple rockets at the same time to judge which is the rocket which is coming to my threatened area or vulnerable area or population center and which is just going away in some vacant or land. Third, third, you look at the antenna of this radar. It is called the active electronically scan array, or in short called the SR radar. It quickly shifts the beam electronically without movement of the antenna. What does it mean? It can look at a very large area in a very short span of time. So this radar, particularly this radar, is suited to the CRAM threat, counter rocket and mortar threat. The multiple which are, you see the interceptor is the Tamir interceptor. It's just 3 meter long missile. Its weight is range is 4 to 70 kilometers it can hit. Though the missile can travel up to 250 kilometers, the effective range is 4 to 70 kilometers only. This radar can have a look at the 1100 targets at any one time and can launch interceptors to 200 targets, 200 rockets at any one time. That is the capability of Iron Dome. Look at the capability of surveillance, 1100 rockets, launching capability, 200 rockets. This Tamir interceptor, 20 in one pack, 20, each having a range of 4 to 70 kilometers. Now, this is one. Another is, I will cover both the weapons together. This is called the iron beam. The radar remains the same because they had developed this radar particularly for the CRAM threat. Instead of the Tamir interceptor, this is called the laser range killer. Why laser beam? Laser beam is a very intense beam. It has got high intensity, high coherence, high directionability, and tremendous impact of heat. So when it hits a missile or a rocket, two things can happen. It can punch a hole through intense heat either on the fin of the rocket or the body of the rocket. If it punches a hole on the fin of the rocket, then the rocket will get displaced and go haywire. If it punches or impacts its heat on the warhead, on the electro explosive warhead, then the warhead can detonate and the rocket can explode mid-air without causing any damage on ground. This is the iron beam. Now its range used to be earlier when it came out in 2014, 7 kilometers, but now the range has been extended to 10 kilometers. The laser is a fiber laser. We've got a capability of 100 to 150 kilowatt of power, and it can kill. Now, I talked about these two weapons. They are good weapons to take on the threat, but they are not faring as much as it is like as Israel would like to be for multiple reasons which are not a weapon fault. which is the fault of the preponderance of the air threat or the smartness with which the Hamas and the Hezbollah is trying to outdo these weapon system to a large extent. How they are doing, I will now explain to you. The first issue is fate accompli gaps. Now, one battery of Iron Dome consists of one radar, EL oblique M. It is also called the multi-mission radar, one command and control system, three to four launchers, each having 20 missiles. So, therefore, how many missiles in one Iron Dome? 60 to 80 missiles. As per the last count, Israel had got 10 Iron Dome fire units. Now, latest reports say that two more have been inducted or in the stage of induction. You take 10 to 12. Therefore, how many Tamir interceptors are there? 60, 600 to 800. Now, just because there are 600 to 800 missiles and only 10 fire units which are available, each fire unit having 3 to 4 launchers, that is 30 to 40 launchers are to cover the land boundary. What is that boundary? 51 kilometers of Gaza, 120 kilometers with Lebanon, and Jan Shankar was talking about the West Bank wall barricade, 708 kilometers. Where do you put the launcher? They are having a strategy of putting the launchers in a scattered fashion, connected with a secure cable, large distances between whatever they can do, whatever they may do, whatever weapon system they may have. There ought to be very large gaps. Imagine the range is 4 to 70 kilometers. The weapon systems have only got 10 to 12 fire units. The total missiles of each launcher is 60 to 80. How do you cover 51 kilometers of Lebanon, 51 kilometers of Gaza, 120 kilometers of Lebanon, and 708 kilometers of the West Bank? How do you cover? The gaps are there. They are fait accompli. Nothing can be done about it. Another, to cover these gaps, come the iron beam. Iron beam is also putting in between. But how many? Latest reports indicate that the first fire unit of iron beam, which is again one fire unit consists of one multi-mission radar, one command and control, two launchers, two laser kill systems, and the ones which are there. So even if you put them together, the gaps have got to be there. And through these gaps, the rockets come and cause the damage. The second issue, which is a major issue, is the too many factor. I will try to explain you the too many factor. In the 2014 operation called Protective Edge, Hamas and Islamic Jihad, how many rockets did they launch? They launched 4,564 rockets. That is the count in the open source, 4,564 rockets. Now, this radar, which I just showed you, see in the background, EL2084, it detected that around 40% of these were headed to correctly, but they could not be engaged. Thus, Iron Dome could only engage 735 rockets only. 735 rockets. Now, this Iron Dome has got a success rate of 90%. If 735 have been correctly engaged, therefore, how many were taken on to be engaged? That is 100/90. That is 0.9. With 90% success rate, 817 rockets. Imagine, where is 4564? Where is 817? Even if you say half these rockets fell on ground in some caused damage, you can understand the story. Again, in May 21, in the war which took place from 6 to 21st May 21, 4369 rockets were launched. On 7th October, 4,500 plus, people keep giving different figure. Imagine that too many factor is, this is the problem which Israel is facing, of dealing with this unconventionally executed dumb threat. I will call it dumb threat, but very unconventionally executed. Also remember why hypersonic weapons are making such a great noise, because they overwhelm the conventional air defense in terms of the time cycle. Before you can actually say Jack Robinson, they already come and hit you. Here the overcoming or overwhelming is not by time, it is by number. If you overwhelm a conventional air defense system either by time or by the number of weapons which can be countered at any one time, the weapon you will have the last law. And the third variety is cost skewed death. You may have read in the open source many times, one interception shot of Iron Dome end to end, all counted is $50,000. For Iron Beam, $2,000. What is the cost of one custom rocket? $300 to $800. In an air defense duel, if the cost of kill is not commensurate to the cost of attack, then the attacker will have the last law. Some people say, don't count the kill in terms of what you are killing, but in terms of what you are protecting. Very fine. It is all right. But ultimately, financial bleeding and shrewd financial figures will speak their truth, and you will tell you that you will not be able to sustain this sort of an engagement over unrespected time. So there are the three factors which are causing Iron Dome. Iron Dome is a great weapon. Iron Beam is a great weapon. But look at what is happening in terms of the threat which they are facing. So what are the alternatives, or what are this idea? What is something more which I'm very sure, having talked to many Israelis during my service time, this is already in the many other options are also being tried out. What are these options? First of all, kinetic kill with preponderance of fire. What does it mean? Kinetic kill with preponderance of fire means the idea of saturating a space of rockets or the air threat space with such a preponderance of low cost fire that a high probability of rockets get into the harm's way of large number of rounds. Now, I already told you about air defense guns. There are MMGs, HMGs, air defense guns, total firing rate from a few thousand, 1600 to 1800 rounds per minute to 6,000 to 8,000 rounds per minute. Now, these are the type of weapons which are incorporated along with the rocket, along with the radars, which can detect large scale rockets, which is not only just the ground based. They also got the aerial threat, also got the AEWCS, also got the long range surveillance radar, also got tactical control radar. These are all surveillance means put together are now getting joined, or they're being pumped into with preponderance of fire weapons. This preponderance of fire, they already have got Vulcan systems, and they can put this as one of the things. Second is, there is a incoming tendency, or there is a thought also, reality, not only thought, many technologies are now revamping fuses and warhead. What is meant by revamping fuses and warhead? Revamping fuses and warhead means that today the fuses which are impact fuse, which only strike and kill the weapon once it strikes, are being changed to proximity fusing. That means there certain distance, even if it passes close to a rocket, it is going to explode and kill the rocket. Thirdly, the warhead, which used to be a monolith warhead in air defense weapon, mostly the warhead used to be monolith. Today, it is being made into a large number of fragmented warhead, large number of bearings and balls and shells and cubes. The name given to it is PFFC ammunition, pre-formatted fragmented cubes. They are fragmented cubes ammunition, which absolutely kill the enemy by a centrifuge. They go in a splinter effect and kill the enemy. And the air burst rounds which are there have tungsten in them, tungsten submunitions in them. This is all coming up. Then there is also there was an open source article from Israel only on hardened drone executing an EMP pulse. What does it mean? Hardened drone executing an EMP pulse is something that an electromagnetic pulse will be effective. If you make an electromagnetic pulse, let the electromagnetic generator be carried remotely by a hardened drone, let it be placed overhead. At the appropriate time, it launches an electromagnetic pulse, but it will only kill what? It will kill the electronics and electromagnetics on the air thread. But a dumb rocket, only a steel pipe carrying a explosive like a sugar and potassium nitrate and with some warhead, is only going to get very less affected. But if it is a guided warrant, if it is a PGM, it is a laser, it will get affected. And also there's the thought of drone swarms on a catastrophic kill. What has been drone swarm on a catastrophic kill? These days, drone swarm, you've seen the Tiddy Dal, you've seen the swarm, they have got a tremendous intelligence. Got tremendous, the AI tools have come, which make the drone swarm highly intelligent. They will, they can be, the future will tell us, they will be kamikaze type of storm drone, which can be guided in an open space where rockets are flying in to take on them in a catastrophic kill mode. So many options are coming. Jal Shankar mentioned a point. What do you think? You think um, Pakistan can do a Hamas on us? Why not? Don't discount any misadventure by the adversary. Adversary, when it comes to launching an air threat, it has got every type of weapon which you can think of. It's got strike aircraft, attack helicopters, ballistic missiles, nuclear capable missiles, ARM. Also got a large number of rockets, guided and unguided. And don't forget its iron clad iron all-time friend, whose ironclad friendship he keeps talking about. Though the country he made a, I think Shankar made a very nice video. If the person is on a life support system with an economy shrinking, you know very well what is happening, and now trying to launch an attack. But we should be careful of such weapon system. And remember drones. The kill vehicles of tomorrow will be drones, small drones in large numbers. Therefore, you may be aware, or I am very happy to tell you, that India and Indian government and the Ministry of Defense is going in a very large way in inducting anti-drone systems, which are both electro-optical and IR surveillance, RF kill, and they're going in for a hard kill. Hard kill is under development and under testing. I cannot tell you more details about it, slightly classified, but both options are coming. So those are the small things which I wanted to talk about the Hamas air threat. And thank you for giving me time to think. Jai Hind to you.
थैंक यू सर, आपने बहुत विस्तार में और बहुत डिटेल में बहुत अच्छी तरीके से आपने समझाया कि ये हिजबुल्ला और हमास से क्या हवाई माध्यम से थ्रेट हो सकता है और इनका क्षमता क्या है। राइट, आई जस्ट वांट टू पुट, जो भी सुन रहे हैं, सर्टन थिंग्स इन पर्सपेक्टिव जो जनरल सक्सेना ने बताया। एक चीज याद रखिए, जो मैं रीइंफोर्स कर रहा हूं जो इन्होंने बताया, चाहे आपके पास जितना भी काउंटर मेजर्स हो, अगर दुश्मन के पास तादाद है तो ही विल ऑलवेज सैचुरेट यू, नंबर वन। ठीक। नंबर टू, ये जो हमास, हिजबुल्ला और ऐसे मिलिशिया फोर्सेस या आप टेररिस्ट फोर्सेस के पास जितने रॉकेट्स हैं, उनके पास हो सकता है 30,000 रॉकेट्स हो, पर वो 1 से 2 किलोमीटर या 5 से 10 किलोमीटर का रॉकेट का कोई फायदा नहीं है, इनका इफेक्ट भी ज्यादा नहीं होगा। आपने अगर इसका ये जो अक्टूबर 7 से लेकर आज तक जो भी हुआ है, अगर आप इसको विस्तार में देखेंगे, एनालाइज करेंगे, ये जितने रॉकेट्स इन्होंने फायर किया है उसका असर ज्यादा नहीं हुआ है। और आयरन डोम का क्षमता यह है कि आयरन डोम उसी रॉकेट या उसी इनकमिंग रॉकेट को या मिसाइल को पकड़ता है जो हमें हानि पहुंच रहा होगा। अगर और कहीं कहीं जाके किसी खुला इलाके में पड़ रहा है और जहां आबादी नहीं है, तो उसको अटैक भी नहीं करता। तो उस लिहाज से देखेंगे तो आयरन डोम इसराइल को, मैं इनफैक्ट मैं उल्टा बताता हूँ, हमास का जो सैचुरेशन इफेक्ट है, इट ओवरवेल्म आयरन डोम, देयर नो डाउट अबाउट इट। बट एट द सेम टाइम द आयरन डोम also destroyed 700 odd rockets or missiles, whatever you call them, which probably would have caused damage to Israel. ये देखने की जरूरत है। राइट, ओवरऑल देखेंगे तो इस रॉकेट से ज्यादा इफेक्ट नहीं हुआ है। ओके, सेम थिंग गोज फॉर हिजबुल्ला ऑल्सो। अगर हिजबुल्ला के साथ 1,30,000 रॉकेट्स हर तरीके के जो सक्सेना ने बताया है, हो सकता है, पर वो कितने इफेक्टिव होंगे ये एक बड़ा क्वेश्चन मार्क है। ये जो वेपन सिस्टम है, एक तरीके से एक ऑफेंसिव वेपन सिस्टम है और एक तरीके से एक प्रोपेगेंडा वेपन सिस्टम भी है कि भाई हमारे पास इतना नफरी है, आप आओ तो हम मारेंगे। नंबर एक। नंबर दो, आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क यू सर, with Israel going in and getting into Gaza, what will be the capability of Hamas to fire these rockets? Do you think they'll be able to fire the way they've been doing so far?
This is also analyzed many times in open source that if Israel enters into Gaza, it will going to be a very tough urban battle because the Hamas warriors and the launching systems are tucked in into various population centers and various and the weapons stored under the tunnels, but the firing with the ease and effectiveness with which they could launch the 7th October attack, certainly
That's gone.
they
That
will
is
not be
gone.
able to launch it in
Yeah,
this manner. In this, no way, they
that
will
is
not.
gone. Yeah. तो यही मैं बताना चाहूँ, सवाल का जवाब आपने सही तरीके से बताया है कि जिस तरीके से हमास ने आज तक फायर किया है, वो फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्शन खत्म हो गया। The moment Israel has gone in, whatever the toughness of the thing, whatever happens inside on a hand-to-hand fight और close combat जो होता है, वो अलग बात है। Close quarter combat जो conventional urban warfare होता है, वो अलग बात है। But हमास का ये रॉकेट्स फायर करने का क्षमता घट गया है, राइट? सो ये पर जो जनरल सक्सेना ने बताया है, ड्रोन अटैक्स वो जारी हो सकता है। ड्रोन अटैक्स, स्वॉर्म ड्रोन्स तो मुझे पता नहीं, अभी तक वो
नहीं,
वीडियो नहीं है हमास के पास। दे हैव ड्रोन्स। ड्रोन्स के साथ एक्सप्लोसिव लगा के फायर करना वो हो सकता है। और मेरे ख्याल में उसके लिए ये जितने इनके विशोराइड्स हैं, राइट, शॉर्ट रेंज एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम से ये निपट सकते हैं। और काफी हद तक इसराइल ने ये एयर थ्रेट हमास से ये न्यूट्रलाइज कर दिया। डोंट यू थिंक सो? सर, योर ओपिनियन ऑन दिस?
या एयर थ्रेट जो आप कहेंगे, एयर थ्रेट काफी हद तक Israel is a very determined nation. They are not facing this air threat yesterday. They have faced this air threat from 2014, 2012. In 2014, they have launched 4,564 rockets, out of which they could take 735. But out of that 735, as you are rightly saying, also is also taken out the most dangerous ones. But the point here, from the air defense point of view, is that if a conventional air defense weapon gets overwhelmed either by time cycle or by numbers of weapon which it can forward, it will become subdued, is the point which has to be brought out.
या दैट इज,
Number
वो तो अंडरस्टूड है, राइट?
Number two,
ओके।
number two point is that while Israel may say that all weapons and all rockets were destroyed. If you look at the videos of the destruction, even post 7th October, I'm telling you, even let's say, and they say only 30% of rockets. I'll give you the figures actually. I've taken
नो,
out
इट्स
the
ओके
figures.
सर, नहीं, आप बोल दीजिए।
30, they say even Israel says that launched 100 rockets. Fine. Not only 20 to 30% are headed correctly. Even if 20 to 30% are headed correctly, the engagement rate with the current weapon systems is just 10 to 11%, maybe 12%. So, बाकी का the gap, the rocket, those small numbers are falling, are causing damage. Not so
या
much, of course, but they are. At the same time, we have to be careful that now Israel will also wake up, or not wake up, they are already aware of many
they're
other
waking up.
alternatives. Many other alternatives are available side by side to take on, to saturate the area, like I was talking about, some more weapons.
ओके, थैंक्स सर। मैं दोबारा सबको बताना चाहता हूँ, आज हमारा ऑडियो जो है वो खराब है क्योंकि 2-3 बार हमने ट्राई किया और लॉग इन लॉग आउट करके कि ऑडियो ठीक हो जाए, पर ठीक नहीं हुआ। तो कृपया आप, यू विल हैव टू बेयर विद अस। बट आई थॉट दिस वाज अ फैंटास्टिक प्रेजेंटेशन बाय जनरल सक्सेना। आई एम सो ग्रेटफुल टू हिम। सर, विद योर परमिशन, I'll take a few questions,
Exactly.
right? Uh, sir, do you foresee Israel attacking Iran nuclear facilities in the next few years?
This question or this poser has answers in yes and no, and also been debated earlier. Israel is one country which will go to any length to destroy the nuclear capability of Iran. They have already launched one, two, three attacks already in the past. And if thing comes to a pass, it is my feeling, it is my own opinion that Israel will go ahead and take on the attack on any facility which is causing a existential threat to it, such as the
या
nuclear facility of
इसमें इसमें कोई डाउट नहीं है. तो देखते हैं कैसे होगा कल की बात.
yes.
दिस इज एट दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, it's a largely a theoretical question.
Yes.
How it actually plays out on ground is depends on a lot of other factors, and we leave it at that. But thanks for your answers. I think you are logical about it, without doubt. Should we consider India? Should India consider investing in air defense technology like Iron Beam rather than S-400 or Iron Dome, as former could be cheap, effective, and futuristic, while later expensive and proving less efficient?
Uh, Instead of saying Iron Beam and Iron Dome, let me tell you that India is making very great strides in all sorts of air defense weapons. Number one. Number two, keeping the air threat from our potential adversaries, which is, I don't want to name them, potential adversaries in mind, we are preparing ourselves for all types of threats, conventional threat as well as the rocket threat. Rocket threat, not in that preponderance because there is intelligence, there is hard evidence available of what sort of threat is going to underplay. Also remember that more than the Hamas type of rocket threat, what we are expecting or what we are fearing is this small drone threat of various variety. Either you must have heard of the Burak UCAV of Pakistan. You must have heard of the Wingloom 2, GA1, GA2. A whole lot of both our adversaries are very strong. One is strong intrinsically, one is strong by begging, borrowing, and by proxy. And therefore, our anti drone systems are getting up in a big way. Last three big orders amounting to 497 crores in three different DACs have been accorded to Army and Air Force for buying the anti-drone systems, both the soft kill variety as well as the laser kill variety, RF kill and laser kill. And the same time, our weapons, which are manpad and large firing weapons, can take on the type of threat we are tailoring in the type of threat we are facing. S-400 is a different class. Why different class? Because remember, beside the small drone threat, we are facing a major threat. What is the major threat? Is the Chinese and Pakistani ballistic missile. Chinese ballistic missiles start from 1100, 800, sorry, 750 kilometers to 22,000 kilometers. Pakistani missiles are from 80 kilometers to 3,750 kilometers. The Hataf series starting with Shaheen, and this side the SSM going up to DF-41. The most important, the most threatened of our vulnerable assets like seat of power, like our nuclear installations, like our concentration where war waging material is kept, is to be protected more from the ballistic and the nuclear tipped ballistic missile threat. Therefore, S-400, which is a long range air defense and a ballistic missile defense weapon system, is being invested to very correctly and being corroborated with own ballistic missile defense system, whose details are not much known in the public media. It's called Program AD. It's
So
got a capability.
we'll leave it at that, sir. Uh, okay. No, not this. So, as the air defense system described are formidable, what is the lesson learned from this breach by Hamas to armies worldwide?
Well, same. I in fact I answered this
Yeah,
question that
you just
yeah, I can just
reiterated a little.
allude to one point. Always remember, you may be capable to take on the world's most difficult, complex, conventional, and lethal air threat, but the dumb threat, which is which beats you either in numbers or a highly technical hypersonic threat which beats you in time, your air defense weapon will prove important. Number one. Number two, air defense weapons are weapon specific, range and altitude specific, and counter specific. Like, for example, a ballistic missile defense weapon is no use to be launched against a small threat. Whereas a CRAM threat, which is a counter rocket and motor threat, its radar is different, its interceptors are different, its whole cycle of uh, engagement is different. Therefore, we need to cater for what decides your arsenal. What decides your arsenal is what threat you face in quantum and quality. That decides how much CRAM.
Right, sir. Uh, Sir agreed that Israel had superior air defense capability. However, the success of the dastardly Hamas attack lies in its unconventional simplicity and first mover advantage. Your views.
I agree. I will not say only one word I have problem is the superior capability. It lies in the unconventional simplicity. I understand, but don't think that the quantum of attack or the type of attack has surprised Israel. They know it very well. They have analyzed the threat of Hamas and Hezbollah threadbare. They know what it lies. Only thing is that timing. Now you know, just in September 2023, there was a peace agreement going to be signed between Israel and Saudi Arabia. There was also a call in the United Nations by Israeli ambassador for a granting a separate state and mutual coexistence, fifth time, to the Palestinian cause. Now to derail that, the time frame, the surprise factor is what took them. That is where you find so much of media reports on failure of Israeli weapon system, failure of Israeli intelligence system, for which Bibi is taking a lot of flack, and
Yeah.
many of
So
those.
we'll take on the next questions. Right. Uh, Sir, wonderful discussion. My question is, should we optimize the coordinated action plan between different technologies available in India? The short answer is yes, we have to. We cannot
Yes,
rely on one technology alone. We have to
yes,
have a mix of technology. We have to have a mix of approaches. We have to hedge our plans also. Right?
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
And and
Uh,
and the pudding on the cake is that this is happening.
yeah.
Earlier, the one source, the Lambretta Vespa series, is now having multiple sources. There are weapon companies in India who specialize in weapon system production end to end.
Right. Okay. We've covered sir the large thing completely. We've taken most of the questions. There are certain questions which are actually, if we continue in this, it will take us a whole night also. I will answer most of your questions during an open hour. And I'll on your behalf I'd like to thank जनरल सक्सेना. आप आए और अपने अच्छी तरीके से हमें विस्तार में बताया. Thanks a lot, sir.
Yes, sir.
We'll be more than grateful if you come later in the month, about a month
Surely,
or 15-20 days later, to we'll take a review कि air में हुआ क्या है. And we'll
yes,
also talk about, you know, air defense for India, if you don't mind, because a lot of
100%.
questions about air defense of India. So, viewers, we'll come back after 15-20 days, 1 month. We'll talk about air defense of India, right?
This,
So,
this
thanks a lot. If you have anything to say, your last words before I close the program for the day.
I will only say that thank you very much, PR. You've been an old friend and a very illustrious friend. And I enjoyed being here on this platform. And in fact, I have with your good wishes, I am on many other platforms discussing on many things on my core competency. I would like to contribute more in your platform in terms of air defense, in terms of battle management systems, in terms of BMD, cybersecurity, defense procurement, so on. Okay.
Yeah, thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. Bye
मैं
bye.
सबको बताना चाहता हूँ I respect General Saxena quite a lot. And most importantly, I must also tell you that we commanded regiments just across a road. We were commanding officers together. If all of despite all that, and both of us we know each other from almost the day I got commissioned because he got commissioned earlier, and we grew up together in our service and both retired as the director generals of our respective arms. It's been a great pleasure, sir, and honor for me that you came on Gunner Shot and this thing. My best
Thank you.
wishes to you, and
Thank you, sir.
thanks to all the viewers. Good
Thank you.
evening and Jai Hind. Join in tomorrow for a discussion with General Dushan Singh on whether Pakistan can do a Hamas-like attack on India, and that will be a dual transmission between Gunner Shot and Strive. So we'll have a lot of people attending it. Thanks a lot. Good evening and Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you.